going to call us to order, and hopefully everybody's had a chance to review the minutes. Look for a motion to approve our minutes.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. It said roll call, but I didn't know if we had to, Carol.
If there's no one on Zoom, or is there?
No.
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 So we talked about adding it in though, just because it's kind of confusing with the number of members. Not everybody's sitting up there. Mark's in the back row, I think.
That's true. Our building committee is a different makeup than just the
Exactly.
commission.
I didn't hear any opposition, so I'm going to move forward. And we're going to go right to Henry Carlson briefing on the admin GMP. Carol, it says.
I'm going to turn it over to Dave. You guys are going to talk? Okay.
Okay, so good morning, Mr. Derry. We're probably going to want you up at the microphone because Commissioner Heiberger is going to be watching, and it just would be difficult for her not to, or for her to hear without you up there, so.
Okay, Dave Deary, Henry Carlson Construction. Good
Morning.
Okay, well, these two young lads, Michael and Tom, have been working very diligently on developing a GMP for the admin building renovation. And so I'm going to let Mike and Tom do the presentation this morning.
Good
Mr.
morning.
Ralston, good morning.
Good morning. So the packages you have before you again are copies of our GMP. Real high level again, that's a new commission room up on Third, revitalization of this area we're in currently, and then the rework of the restrooms on all 3 floors. So if we want to turn to page 7, that's kind of the meat and potatoes, so to speak. That's the recap. All the detail is subsequent pages, but again, that's kind of where we're looking. We can pull that up, Carol.
Maybe. Linda knows everything. Oh, there it is.
Melinda, we appreciate you.
Thank you.
I'm not sure.
And did you get money involved?
And there it is.
Perfect, thank you. So, yeah, so again, we can kind of go into as much or as little detail as you want. But currently, we're looking at a project that's $2,315,900. Now, to kind of set the stage where we're at today from where we started back in March, back then we were about $2.2 million. But subsequent to that, we added the wall tile in the restrooms, a little bit of enhancement to the back wall in the commission room, and then revitalized some casework in one of the break rooms. And with that said, we're about 9,000. That revised number, if we add in where we started back in March, those 3 kind of changes that or additional scope items we had, brought us to $2,324,000. So we're about 9,000 under where we were projecting. So it's a good message, I think, today that we're actually kind of a little bit under, and we're still able to capture all the scope that we're hoping to. So we're within 1/3% where we thought we were going to be.
Okay.
Again, within that, one other thing I guess kind of want to touch on real quick, we are still carrying a 5% contingency. So about 110,000 contingency to kind of cover unforeseen items that are yet to be discovered, so to speak. But I guess with that, I'll take any questions. Fair.
The what?
Well, we did include a couple of allowances for some, again, unforeseen things that we know are still coming. That contingency, again, is kind of for the unforeseen things that we can't reasonably anticipate at this time. But, Dave noted that we did include a couple of allowances in our backup. So let's, if we go to page 9, item 15, kind of midway there, it says additional card readers. So again, this is tied to the DD set of documents, and subsequent to that, there's been some meetings that added a couple card readers. we know they haven't been identified on the documents, but understand that they're forthcoming. We just carried a little bit of money there for them, knowing that that's gonna show up on the CDs, the construction documents. The other major one would be if you go to page 10, 21, the commission room upgrades. So we're carrying some upgrades in there right now. We do understand that there's some nice definition in the documents currently that show the commission desk, the flooring, the ceilings. This is things like acoustical wall panels that really probably haven't anticipated yet that we're probably going to want for acoustical quality in that room. Maybe a little bit nicer top than what we were currently thinking. Things like that. So there's a little bit of a finish, we call a finish upgrade allowance. But again, it's things that we know are probably forthcoming, that just haven't been identified yet in that room.
Okay, questions from any of the commissioners on any of these items so far? Commissioner Bender?
I don't really have a question, I just more have a comment. I mean, we've been working diligently with the architects and with Henry Carlson on this. I mean, it's a remodel. It's always lots of unknowns in a remodel. We've been trying to hit the sweet spot between providing space that will be usable and efficient, and, you know, will last for at least another decade. That's kind of been what we've been aiming for. And so, you know, I think Commissioner Barth and I have attended a lot of meetings, and I think we feel good about where we ended up here. There's always places that people could, reasonable minds could disagree about, you know, whether it's appropriate to spend money on bathrooms, for example, right now. But at the end of the day, I think that given the state of where the building is right now, this is a reasonable and responsible approach to spending the money needed to get the state's attorney's office consolidated all on one floor, moving our commission room and providing a good welcoming space for the public for the next decade, and making the building usable for the public from a restroom standpoint. Those have been our biggest priorities.
Commissioner Bender, or Benninga?
Is 10%, 5% seems low for a contingency on a remodeling project. Isn't usually around 10?
It is, but we're really not digging into the building real deep. The only walls are really tearing into our bathrooms.
A little bit in this area, but yeah, I mean, to your point, I mean, if we were revitalizing the whole HVAC system, mechanical system, yeah, I mean, you probably a little bit more, you know, if we're trying to modify structure. But again, this is really just a facelift in very specific areas.
There's always surprises in remodel.
Yeah, that's true.
Is there an owner's contingency in here at this point?
Not on our side. I don't know.
Okay.
Dick can probably comment if he's carrying some money.
I can comment on that. So we're just in the process of putting together the master budget, which would include the extension building and this building, along with both, you know, both construction costs on it. And we, the rough budget we put together has 5% kind of across the board on that. And I think we're seeing it on the extension building where we're probably going to use it. There's things we run into, so. And on this building, you know, we think 5% is probably a pretty good number, kind of between the two. So it'd be a total of 10 on this particular project.
I have a couple questions if I be indulged. So, acoustical ceilings, are we replacing all the ceiling tiles?
No.
82,000 for ceilings, that just was a big number. What,
It's, again, just the areas that we're remodeling. So it's kind of this area, the state's attorney area, where we're going to revitalize or rip down walls and then complete on third floor in the new commission and kind of bonus space up there.
okay, so just where it's necessary to put new
Exactly.
ones in, we're
Yeah.
not replacing everything. What is ceramic and quarry tile?
The ceramic tiles is their restrooms.
That's,
So
okay,
it's the floor tile and the wall tile both.
okay. And I'm just looking for stuff on lighting. What's in here for lighting?
So that'll be wrapped into the electrical. So again, it's all new lighting in the remodeled spaces.
Are we doing LED? Are we,
Correct.
I'm glad to hear that, okay. That's all I got. Okay. Any questions? You're good with everything? Ben?
So, this project would kick off after the extension building becomes complete. And so really what we're looking at tentatively here is a start date of around December of this year. And that would take about 11 months to complete. It's a phased build out, so as we complete one space, it opens up space for folks to occupy that space and create an open space for us to go in and construct again. So, yeah, we're a phased build out of 11 to 12 months right now.
Christmas of next year, maybe. Okay. Carol, did you have any questions, comments? Okay. Okay. All righty. Carry it forward. I'm sorry. Commissioner Bender.
Just to drill into that timeline a little bit, my guess is the auditor's particularly interested in the space up on third floor. If you could explain a little bit about what we're shooting for.
We're working towards the goal of having the commission chambers and some additional spaces available by April 1st. I understand there's elections going on that we're pushing to try to meet that April 1st of the third floor build out. So
That's what you're driving at. All righty.
Mr. Chairman, I just hope that I'll not only be able to see the promised land, but actually go there before I'm done in this
Okay,
job.
Moses. All righty. Carry on. Anything left to the presentation? Okay.
Yeah, we want to flip to page 13 quick. I know we covered a couple of the allowances here, but there's a couple other small ones in there, for some wall coverings and some repainting some existing frames. But again, all those allowances are identified on page 13.
Remind me, we don't vote on approving the GMP. That's a commission action item. This is just building committee, so this will be brought to the commission. Do we have a date?
Next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
Next
Soon.
Tuesday, pending that all contracts get wrapped up.
Okay, okay, all righty. Okay.
Can I,
Thank you.
just interject?
Please.
Since we're running a few minutes ahead, I thought you might appreciate hearing from Monty, talking about what's gonna happen upstairs with AVI, just briefly on that. To know that we're doing significant improvements to get us beyond our, can I say Band-Aid? Yeah, technology to make us work remotely and everything. So I'm putting Monty on the spot with this.
A little bit, that's all right. Monty Wadenbach, Minnehaha County IT. So when the pandemic hit, we did the best we can with this phone up here and trying to make Zoom work in this room. And so, there wasn't much money spent in order to make that work. Also broadcast the meetings typically through YouTube. But with this new space up here, ABI is going to come in and design the room how it should be designed for these kinds of meetings. So I think they'll have this room set up to be kind of a Zoom room. They'll have the overflow or multi-purpose room set up so people could, from that overflow room, participate and present in the meeting. So I think it'll be much better design from the ground up versus us just trying to make things work. So it will be much better.
Commissioner Bender.
We really appreciate your help in working through this. That's a separate line item, right? That's not in the GMP. That's, yeah, something that be run either through the commission or through technology budget. Okay,
ARP funds.
okay.
Multiple TVs, bigger TVs, just all around better technology in the room. So.
I think I can speak for the commission, and we're excited to see that type of progress made, and it's what the future holds. So, excellent.
I will just address real quickly, we've had great conversations with Ben about elections, because that will be the space that will be used during that time. And we've designed the commission chambers, so as people walk through and come through, and you've got the maze as people go through and do that's out of there. I know Ben has been very proactive about saying, how can we have, for instance, when ballots are being counted, can we stream that? And so that people have comfort with doing that. So that technology is all being put into place for it, which is exciting. We looked at a lot of the challenges that they've had. For instance, every day the ballots would go back and forth between the vault and the extension building, the vault and the extension building. We're not doing that. The ballots will actually be brought up for those 2 months into the multipurpose room. We will block it off for that time period. That will be locked. It'll have a swipe on there, so Ben's gonna know who's coming and going out of that room. That will be taken care of. The counters, counting machines, is that the right term for them? Will be kept upstairs because you know they're very sensitive. We don't want to be moving them around in buildings and shifting them. So that's being taken care of. We also are going to have an overflow room up there. So even with taking that meeting room out for 2 months, we still have the capability of doing things up there. So we're excited about doing that. I think we've overcome a lot of obstacles, and hopefully in April we'll find out.
Great to hear. Never hear the end of election security, so thank you, Carol. Thank you, Ben. All righty. Moving on then, we have a facilities projects update. Mark Krenz, how's fishing been?
I'll tell you this weekend. Good morning. So I want to update you this morning, mainly on the Fairgrounds Expo roof. So to date, the west side of the upper roof is complete, new cover board, new membrane adhered. They started on the east half yesterday. I think they got about 40 foot done or so. So good news, the cover board took the brunt of the damage, so the insulation is actually looking really good. So they're going to push through this week, and they'll start fabricating the flashing, and still have hopes of getting it done by the fair, but either way, it'll be buttoned up watertight. So that's all I had.
We'll hope for no rain until we're done anyway, but, yeah.
Well, let's hope it's not 105, though. I mean, I was looking at those guys.
Yep. Yeah, I asked about that, and they're gonna work through that, so. They did, they had one day last week that they weren't able to work due to the high winds, but otherwise, yep, they're gonna work right through this heat, so.
Started a night shift.
Right, right.
All righty. Any questions for Mark?
Mark, the whole fairgrounds, you know, we've talked slightly about it, but clearly it's crumbling in some ways. What would it take to completely bring things up to snuff, so to speak, out there?
Oh, I hate,
The Carlson people,
yeah. Maybe we should ask them. No, I don't know. If I was to guess, maybe 3 to 5 million, maybe. I mean, there's a lot of underground utilities need to be replaced, you know, roofs and stuff out there still, so, yeah.
I think your estimate is way low. Way, way low.
Well, he's just talking facility side, so.
Right.
I think
Better
it's
be
more
under
of
than
a-
over, right?
Yeah.
if we could get rid of the gophers, the electrical would work better.
Right.
How do gophers dig in granite?
Well, the granite's down very, it's not very deep,
Yeah.
and the electrical is on top of it.
Yep.
All righty.
Yep, we just replaced a fair amount of underground water service, basically from, there's a service right south of the Pipestone building there that feeds that building along with a whole bunch of the, those tie-down barns. And there was a leak, pretty significant leak underground. We couldn't find anybody that actually does, you know, can find the leak other than digging it, because the water is actually going down instead of coming up. So they've had multiple leaks in the past in that area, so I decided just to replace that whole service. So that's just a small portion of what needs to be done out there, so.
Have we heard anything from the insurance company on the Expo roof?
Mark actually's been having that conversation with them.
Yeah, so, I talked to the adjuster yesterday, and he just got his information over to Travelers, so I haven't heard back. I'm sure they're gonna cover it, but I haven't actual confirmation on that. The other claim we were looking at was the hail damage on the buildings. I asked him about that.
Added to the waiting room. You cannot talk.
Sorry.
Fine.
They are gonna cover that, so the hail damage, there's hail damage on multiple buildings downtown here, and so that'll be coming, so.
I just want to share real briefly, because you kind of tripped into finding that stuff as we started doing the extension, correct?
Correct, yeah, so, I first noticed it on the courthouse roof. Some of the coping on top of there was, I'm up there fairly often, and I would have noticed it, so it wasn't like it was old. But anyway, so I started looking around, and, you know, the copper dome up on top, you know, had some damage, so, I sent an email to our insurance agency. The adjuster came down. We looked at multiple buildings downtown here, multiple had hail damage. Some did, some didn't. It was odd, especially like this building here. The flashing on the east side had hail damage, but the flashing on the west didn't. So, it's strange, but, they, checked highway department. We were at the fairgrounds, did multiple buildings down here. We have some buildings in Garrettson, Wall Lake, 83 buildings I think the county actually owns, I just found out. And so, they submitted all that documentation, and yesterday he had said that the insurance was gonna cover those costs. So we did have some AC units, some condensing units on the jail kitchen that had damage too. So I don't know what the extent is gonna be, but, you'll be getting some compensation for that, so.
Not that unusual for hail to damage one side of a building and not the other, just because of the way it falls. So, yeah.
Just ask an insurance man.
Yeah, exactly. So, Carol?
I was just going to remind you that because we are per occurrence, so that's why Mark was looking at all, it's like, we're going to blame on one, let's see what else we've got out there. So it's one package that comes in. And the deductible on that wind hail.
Wind and hail, 100.
Well, what was the event, the date of the loss, is that August of 19? Is that the hail? Because I think that would have preceded our wind and hail deductible, so we might want to look at that and talk about that, and then find out, are we going to be given, is the claim going to be made on a ACV, actual cash value basis? And are we required to do the repairs? And if we don't do the repairs, we really got to negotiate the amount of that ACV, because that is kind of a number that's not set in stone, I guess would be the best way to put it, so.
Sure, yeah, we can bounce those questions off them. I'm curious to see where they're gonna land on the extension, so.
Yep, okay.
Yep.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you, Mark. Moving on to new business. Any new business? Commissioner Benega.
I don't know if this is appropriate time to talk about where we're at with the ground lease on CCC or not. Maybe not, because I already asked,
I can
right?
make some comments. So, yeah, so we've worked with the trustee to amend the ground lease. So we've removed the CCC building on West Russell, along with some vacant property we had at the JDC. We have another property that we need to adjust for over by the jail, but we're going to do that when we have to amend the ground lease when we start construction in the highway building, so we'll have to include that. But yeah, so the CCC building is now free and clear. If, you know, the commission wants to consider, you know, doing something with that property, it's, you know.
No
free.
longer encumbered by the bonds that we have.
That's
Okay.
correct.
Okay, good to know.
Game changer, maybe?
Okay,
So just to follow up on that, game changer in the sense that we should look to liquidate that property?
Well, all of us will have to talk about that, but that's certainly a favorable option, I guess, that I would think we want to consider.
As,
Because it does have a cost to just leave it as is, with some operating cost every year, which are more than we think they are.
I'd favor selling that property, and hopefully to someone that pays taxes.
I'm just going to comment that we did have an appraisal kind of done earlier
With or without the building on it? Okay. Because to raise that building. Okay. Okay.
I think that's an opportunity for us to consider, because I do know there's commercial interest in it.
How do you want to proceed? I agree with you, but how should we look at that?
We have three options we need to use.
Well, first, yeah, thank you. First step would be to declare it surplus, and I can go through and get that documentation ready for you to do. So that would be the first step. The second step would be determining the method of sale that you want to do. We've done enough of this lately. I think I know the statutes by heart practically. The second would be if they're putting it on by bid, listing it with a real estate company, or auctioning off. Now, the one thing you do need to get is an appraisal. And Ben mentioned that we did get a it wasn't an appraisal, but it's a,
Broker's opinion of value?
thank you, thank you, a broker's opinion. And that's how we handled it with the,
908 building.
no, 908, we did an appraisal on. We did this on the gravel pit. And then we have the option of taking it forward through our appraisal committee.
The board or
And maybe
whatever
we
they're called.
can sneak that on when we do the other one, as to get that in. It's helpful to have that broker opinion to start the process on that. But I can certainly go through and get the stuff ready to go to declare it surplus.
I mean, declaring it surplus doesn't set any sort of red line, or we're not drawing a line in the sand, we have to do anything. I mean, it just starts the process for us to consider moving it forward. Any objection to doing that? Okay.
I think it would be appropriate to get the show on the road at this fall.
Okay. Especially if,
I actually have it on the short list for the person who's starting on the 23rd
Okay. Okay.
to work on that.
excellent. Any other new business? All righty, we have the opportunity for public comment. Anybody want to jump up to the microphone and talk to us? Seeing nobody making a mad dash, I will look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
And all those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Nobody's opposed. We are adjourned. We start a regular commission meeting at 9 o'clock. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.